Also, that year, my brother caught me jerking off. It was just not a good year for me in terms of embarrassing moments. You're cooked. Take a flight, move to another country, start a new life. That's all you can do. Greetings from planet JRSIN. You've now been warped into the arbitrary, enthralling, astronomical phenomenon that's been identified as JRSIN'S universe. And today, random Reddit posts. So as a disclaimer, I don't believe anything on here at all. I'm aware some people are probably creating stories because they're bored, or they're masking other people's questions as their own, trying to find an answer for those issues. Whatever the case may be, this is all completely for content, and I'm going to be answering in the post as if I were writing in the comments section. This just happens to be a video format. Anyways, with that out the window, welcome back to Man Speaks to Camera. Camera doesn't speak back to man. Man hopes camera has a change of mind one day. Man is still waiting, unfortunately. We have 4 different posts to get through, so let me not waste our time. Let's get right into the first one. All right, the vent subreddit. Let's check out this post. A year ago, I farted in front of 2 girls I was hanging out with, and I can't get it out of my head. We're off to a pretty good start, I see. To this day, I, 23-year-old male, sometimes just close my eyes with embarrassment every time the thought comes up. The girls were great and pretended like they didn't hear it. Shouts out to them. But seriously, I haven't seen them in a while. I want to reach out to them, but I honestly feel like they haven't forgotten. Also, that year, my brother caught me jerking off. It was just not a good year for me in terms of embarrassing moments. Whoa. Okay. Talk about some serious PTSD. So not gonna lie, dude, depending on what you were looking for out of these people decides whether it matters or not. Like, if these girls are your friends, then stop making things awkward. Your self-consciousness is really what's holding you back from just hanging out with your friends. True homies don't care if you rip one. They don't care if your ass stinks that bad. They'll laugh about it and we move on. Sure, we're gonna bring up the memories of how you almost practically shitted yourself, but other than that, we move on. We don't make a big deal about it, and it's nothing that's gonna hold you in some constant embarrassment for the rest of your life. Now, if your reason for being embarrassed is something that you're not mentioning here, like maybe you're crushing on one of these ladies and you feel like it was an embarrassing moment that kind of, I don't know, crippled your confidence, then that's a totally different story, and I can kind of understand where you're coming from. However, a year of not talking to them is a bit extreme, because here's the thing. As you said, they ignored it. So they're pretty cool. You're the one that made a big deal out of it. Now, something that could have been really small and just a tiny memory that just get pushed in the back of your mind, it now has become a core memory for everybody because you let that situation impact you in such a way that you evaded these girls for a year. See what you did there? You made something very minute into a gigantic core memory. Now, as far as the whole getting caught by your brother situation, you're cooked. Take a flight, move to another country, start a new life. That's all you can do. See, now that's embarrassment that no one is forgetting. And then you said it's your brother. Imagine the next time you guys have an argument. You have now given him maximum ammo. You could have been caught by your friend, whatever. Friends change all the time. So if they just stop coming around, the memory is gone as well. You could have said that you had an awkward situation where your girl caught you in the middle of the act or whatever the case may be. Okay, cool. The 2 of you together will get over that situation. But your brother, you're fucked. Let's see how the rest of the community feels about this whole situation. I won't share, but I promise your embarrassing flashbacks are nothing. I promise you mine takes the cake. One flashback of my worst memory and you'll be farting in front of girls on the daily. Just try to even the score. I do appreciate this post. It's just a bit of a reminder that you never know how much other people's embarrassing moments are compared to yours. I'm pretty sure if you go online, you can find multiple videos of people having some of the most embarrassing moments on camera that will never, ever be wiped off the internet. Those people have to see their embarrassing moments over and over and over again. Lucky for you, yours is just memory based. And if you can just shove that out of your head, you'll be totally fine, dude. Trust me. Eventually, you will do something much more embarrassing and then never think about this again. Okay, so that is a bit of a goated comment because if you think about it, life is a little bit longer than the one part in your timeline as a 23-year-old when you farted in front of 2 girls. So let's ease up on this small situation and prepare ourselves for the bigger ones to come. Because you just might be venting again. At least you didn't get rock hard for absolutely no other reason than your buddy deciding it's time to wake up while presenting your end of the semester project in front of everyone. Now listen, I'm aware that comparison is the thief of joy. However, if we're going to compare peaches to apples, you clearly got the better end of the options, because that is a nightmare. Hey, I've been caught jerking multiple times by family and friends. It happens. We're human. And there you go. Some closure for this second part of the thing you were venting about. You now have found community. All right, now moving on to something that I absolutely cannot stand. Entitled people. With the New Year's hangover and nothing to do, I decided to head to Target to pick up a few things. After making my purchases, I leave to return to my car. As I was walking through the parking lot, I noticed someone had left a shopping cart directly behind my car. The car that was parked next to me was in the process of pulling out. I'm thinking it was definitely them. So as I'm almost at my car, the lady sees me and hesitates for a second, maybe to consider moving the cart. However, just at that moment, a gust of wind blew by and the cart starts taking off. The cart then proceeded to slam into the side of the other person's car. She looks at me a bit scared, thinking it was my car that just got dented. But as soon as I unlocked my car and she realized it wasn't mine that she hit, she peels out of the parking lot without a second thought. She left too fast for me to grab a plate number. That poor car now has a dent because of that entitled POS piece of shit. It's pretty unfortunate, but that's the kind of reality that we live in. We happen to share Earth space with people that just don't care about the next person, unfortunately. Of course, we're reading this off of the Entitled People subreddit, so we're very much aware that there are a lot of people in the world that are like this. As soon as she realized she wasn't going to get no consequences behind her actions, she just fucking takes off. Asshole. Life happens to people when they least expect it, and unfortunately there's nothing we can really do about it. I mean, in that situation, someone's car got dented. That person is just going to have to accept this situation. I mean, while it does bring you down, what if you weren't there in the first place? What if you didn't see any of this? What if you were 30 minutes behind everything that happened? You would have just gotten your car and went about your merry way, and that person would have still had to deal with the outcome of what happened to their car. Hopefully, it's not a brand new car. Granted, it shouldn't have happened in the first place. But what can you do? This is just one of those situations that are out of everybody's hands. We just have to live life and kind of avoid as much assholes as possible. People who don't return their carts are among the laziest and selfish subhumans ever. I mean, everybody got their different reasons for why they leave carts in the parking lot. However, I do feel like it doesn't take too much time to at least try to get it inside of one of those cart slots that are in the parking lot. I mean, but hey, you can't force everybody to do the right thing. If we go down a bit, it seems like one of our commenters have a shopping cart theory link. Whoa. Okay. Look at this. The shopping cart theory, a test of moral character. Okay, bear with me. I'm a little bit curious, so I'm going to read it real quick. The shopping cart theory, a test of moral character. Enter the shopping cart theory. If you haven't heard of this, let me bring you up to speed. A few years ago, this theory went viral on social media, stating it was the ultimate limitless test for someone's moral compass. Returning a shopping cart to the store or cart corral is relatively easy and convenient, and it is what most of us recognize, absent a true emergency, as the right thing to do. No one will punish you or fine you if you leave it next to your car instead. And you will not gain nothing tangible by doing a good deed of returning a cart to its home. So why do it when there is no credit or repercussion? Because you can. You're a good person who chooses to do good things. I guess there is nothing to gain from putting your cart back in the cart corral. I mean, there's no reward and there's no accolades being given for the type of person that's willing to do that. However, it is a test of moral character. I can kind of understand that, because in the absence of law and any kind of authority, you're just deciding to do the right thing. And anyone who just says, fuck it, and let the cart roll behind somebody else's car is just an entitled asshole that don't give a damn. I like this. I wonder if stores did as Aldi does, a quarter to get a cart, would more people be inclined to return it for a quarter? Some stores also need more cart racks. This is so right on. It's a moral thing. I agree. I mean, there are different companies that try to find different systems to get the cart back into the cart corral. However, it doesn't mean every single person is going to oblige. Okay, change my view subreddit. Thank goodness we're getting away from entitled people, because every time I hear about inconsiderate people, it just makes my blood boil. CMV, I see no downsides to immortality. I thought of posting this on our philosophy, but I wasn't sure. There's no unfixable downside to being immortal. Firstly, the issue of seeing your friends and family die. People are always going to die. You're not going to kill yourself just because your family got into an accident. You make new friends and move on. By 100 years, you'll have forgotten most of your old friends, and after their deaths, and will have new ones. Assuming humanity becomes interstellar, you might survive the death of Earth and our solar systems without floating eternally in the void. The only real issue is memory and boredom. If you can condition yourself to forget stuff every few decades, you can essentially always have space for new things, and you can repeat what you already did like it's a new experience. And however the universe dies, you're going to die with it. Whether everything condenses into a singularity or everything, including you, freezes. Even if you argue that you still won't die, nothing is going to live near absolute zero. At worst, you'll be eternally frozen. And then we got a couple edits, but that's after everyone has commented, of course. So we're not going to focus too much on that. Now, of course, I'm just going to humor this post because this is something that we absolutely do not know. Now, assuming that living forever and becoming interstellar works in the parameters that you've just created, then that sounds like a bit of a nightmare. The human mind barely can fathom forever. In fact, the human mind barely could peek into what 100 years would look like. So this idea of forgetting friends and family is inevitable. In fact, at some point, if you're living that long, you're probably going to forget how you were born. And also, as we know, being forever would suck because, like you pointed out, boredom. I mean, it's all cool about this whole immortal thing until you're begging to die. It's going to be even worse if you live long enough to see the Earth die and now you're just, in space? I think you've found the literal representation of hell. I don't know if anyone pointed this out, but because the universe is expanding in all directions, even if we become interstellar, the edge of our transversable universe is shrinking. Even if you were to move at the speed of light, you could not reach any further, and you could not go back either, because that will be out of reach too. That is a very, very awesome comment, because if you really think about it, the universe constantly expands. Earth is long gone. At some point, you're literally just spiraling in the middle of nothingness. And wherever the universe was that you came from, it's like all the way back there. You cannot go back. We are expanded. And you're just constantly in motion. Interesting to think about. I didn't even give that a thought. You know how they say there are fates worse than death? If you're immortal, then on a long enough time scale, all of them will happen to you. Just off the top of my head, what if you're out hiking and fall in a ravine with no way to get out and no way to call for help? I hope you like a few hundred years of starving in a hole. Or say if you have enemies and will have them, and they capture you and lock you up in a cell for a few decades. Or if you become the subject of a never-ending government project to attempt to figure out your immortality. There are a lot of ways this can go horribly wrong. And while you still might think it's worth the risk, they definitely qualify as downsides. And there we go. It's cool until it isn't cool anymore. With that being said, it's because we have a time clock that makes the whole life experience so precious. Because we have a certain amount of time to do things is what make all of this worth it. If we are immortal, then all of a sudden you long stop appreciating the point of existence. And from there, everything becomes anguish and hell, and you are just begging to die. So, cool theory, cool thought. but there are some massive downsides. And now that brings us to our very last subreddit, no stupid questions. How do you get out of bed every morning just to go to a job? I don't understand how people would rather have a job than be dead. I genuinely don't understand the motive. I picked a field I love. I became educated. I've had multiple jobs that are vastly different from each other, and every one gives me the same overwhelming feeling. I'd rather die than do this. It's been every job I've ever had. Even before graduating college, I simply don't feel rewarded when I put in the effort to complete a task. I never get fulfillment out of a job well done. I don't understand how people do this their whole lives. Well, I mean, I got quite the response for you, but before I get into mine, we'll just go ahead and read some of the comments that are in the subreddit. This is giving me flashbacks to my quarter life crisis. Honestly, I think we've been taught to think a career or job is supposed to be fulfilling, give you purpose and satisfaction, blah, blah, blah. Especially you realize that it's BS for 99% of the world and most of human history. A job just pays the bills. What you do outside of it is where most people find meaning. It's a bit morbid, but read some obituaries in your local papers. The most interesting ones don't talk about their jobs. Oof. It is pretty rough, I gotta admit. I've developed the ability to have fun regardless of the situation. Job, jail, stranded along the road, it doesn't matter. I have the tools to make it not suck. My productivity could be better and I'm not going to be employee of the year, but at least I'm not burnt out or depressed like a lot of my coworkers who are productive. Balance is going to be an important thing when it does come to working. However, I gotta admit, I do like a bit of the perspective change that I'm getting here. I'm a masochist and people depend on me. Not just that, I have animals that depend on me. I can't look my kitties in the eyes and not feel like I have to do everything I can to provide for them. Pets and kids make for the best motivation. I will agree. I've struggled with this my whole life. I fight every day with it. The only reprieve I've found within is knowing that I can make the lives of those around me happier and better. As an absolute biggest fuck you to the gnawing dread of the void that awaits us all. Now, while plenty of you have made it clear where you stand on in this situation, hopefully I can provide some closure to the people who connect with what I'm about to say here. Here's the thing. I and most people can understand your frustration because most people on earth would absolutely agree with where you are on this perspective.
Inattentive, impatient, a glazed look in the eyes. Look carefully at the "I really wish I weren't here right now" button.
But this is just one of those things that deserve a bit of cognitive reconstruction. And simply put, what that is just finding a different perspective to swap out an unhealthy view of a particular situation. Look, the words I pass on to you isn't going to make the grind less physically exhausting or less boring if that's how it feels to you. But what I find very important, and listen closely, you need to incorporate a plan outside of your job. What I'm saying is I'm a huge advocate of working for yourself after you just finish working for someone else. The same level of discipline you're willing to give to your job is what you should give to your dreams and your passion and what it is that you're chasing. So here's a few examples. Waking up on time, never being late to work, being a star employee at your job, not because you want employee of the month, but because the money is the motive and bills need to get paid. That level of motivation and discipline is something that you already do unintentionally. All I'm saying is make some space within your day to give yourself that much motivation and discipline.
Okay, I think that commitment is actually harder to do when it's a long-term commitment that you're going, okay, you know what? I'm gonna stay at my job, but I'm gonna work 3 hours a day on this other thing. I'm gonna be manufacturing. I'm gonna be making my widgets 3 hours a day. When I get home at 10 o'clock at night, I'm gonna go until 1 o'clock in the morning making my widgets. That's commitment. Mm-hmm. It's actually smart commitment. It actually, in some ways, takes more commitment to do that than it does just to quit your job and say I'm all in.
That unintentional motivation that you have acquired from work needs to transfer into the thing that you are trying to do. And granted, I understand that some people have kids. That's fine. Find a way to handle parent duties, but make sure that you can carve out at least an hour or at the very least 30 minutes for yourself. You hear me say give yourself an hour or even 30 minutes. And I know you're probably thinking that's not enough time to do anything. However, if you give yourself just a little bit of time and you make small wins along the way, little by little, it will become huge progress. And a year, 2, 3 years from now, you'll be thanking yourself for even starting the process. And when the future you get to where you want to be, you'll be patting yourself on the back and you'll be thanking your past self who suffered for a few years just to bring you into the position that you were trying to get to in the beginning. So I'll leave you with that bit of information and hopefully it helps somebody. I too got some progress of my own that I need to make right now. So with that being said, see you all soon.